Electronic Arts seemed to have the Midas touch when it came to their sports titles in the early 90s. Madden began to forge his mighty empire with cheesy one-liners and fun gameplay. The NHL series was nearing its prime with addicting action that still remains as some of the greatest hockey games out there. Road Rash brought to millions the joy of thrashing a police officer with a chain. However, like their shitty ports, they had sports games that were 18-karat shit. For one thing, you don't hear anybody mention their basketball titles from this time period. Want to know why? They were like 9th grade science class. Case in point, Lakers vs. Celtics, a prodigal son that tried way too hard to impress. Upon starting, you are greeted with this over-the-top music score that they tried to road rash the fuck out of. It's not horrible, but clowns at a funeral are more fitting. Same goes for this opening presentation, boasting this toupee-toting douchebag and a token black guy that looks like he's about to kill everyone in the studio. Alright, I'm nitpicking. Besides the hieroglyphic-esque dark gray text on a blue background, the presentation is actually decent, so you're pumped, you're excited for some intense action. And what do you get? The whitest basketball game I've ever seen in my life. Senior pickup games have more intense basketball action than this. Those games at least had a sense of speed. This game is just so damn slow. It captures nothing from the sport. It's watching turtles go through a chronic state of bullet time. If it takes me 10 seconds with a guard to go from end to end of a basketball court, then you fucked up in programming. Also, word of advice, don't bring the ball up court with your center. I swear to God, these things move faster. When you're in the offensive zone, it's less like basketball and more like a game of chess versus an IBM computer. The defensemen you go against are the equivalent of brick walls when you go near them. There's no speed burst to get past these guys, no fancy dribbles, no pick maneuvers, nothing to try and break up the monotony. All you can do is try to get to the free throw line and then witness unstoppable John Woo-influenced slam dunks done with no momentum. It gets to the point where this game is nothing more than a dunk fest. Just go to the free throw line and press A. There, I just gave you the ultimate cheat to the game. Have fun. Defense, on the other hand, is all but impossible. All you can do is molest the C button and pray you steal the ball from your opponent. That is, if you can find out who you're controlling. Some genius at EA decided you didn't need any random shape indicator below the control player. Oh no. You know who you're controlling by looking at their socks and shoes. Seriously, who the hell looks at one's feet in a sports game? There's usually a star or circle under the player for a reason. God forbid I have to scramble to look for thin black socks and shoes in a sport where the athletes are predominantly black. When first playing, you'd be better off booking Dennis Rodman and wrestling Oh wait. The teammate AI are outright retards. Who runs away from the paint to allow the opponent to get an easy basket? Why are they just letting the AI chase them to the net? Why are players on offense unstoppable when they go for layups and dunks? Why doesn't this guy just run ahead of this player instead of making me want to do some really bad homosexual joke? It doesn't make sense! The Maginot Line laughs at this porous defense. If that's not bad enough, rebounding is absolutely atrocious. There's no other way to put it. You could have one guy just sitting there waiting for rebounds and you still won't get it 3/4 of the time. The ball seems to be magnetized to a random person in the area. It has nothing to do with placement or size. You could be a guard amidst centers and still come out with the basketball. It's that bad. This game is so bad that they didn't even get the rules right. Okay, that was my first foul and he didn't shoot the ball. How is he getting free throw shots? Speaking of free throw shots, these are a joke as well. There's no indicator of where you're going to shoot. It's hit or miss. Granted, they're relatively free points, but it just seems like it was overlooked in this game. As the gameplay is testing your sanity, you are viciously assaulted with songs that couldn't make the cut on the soundtrack of White Men Can't Jump. It falls victim to the theory that 45-year-old white men could make rap music and market it off to kids. And I love how they try to make the songs seem urban and street when the NBA didn't garner its thug image until around 2003, so they failed in that regard. In other words, this music does not fit here. At all. So you figure, just turn off the music in the menu screen. What you're greeted with is basketball played in the Superdome post-Hurricane Katrina. Dear God, no wonder why they don't play that many sound effects in the game. This is sheer torture! In my view, Lakers vs. Celtics, considering EA's other sports titles at the time, is a disappointment. But there's easily potential for greatness in future installations. The programming's okay, the presentation's solid, and I like that there are a few nice touches to things like player faces and team selection. If they overhauled the gameplay to make it fun, there'd be a very good game on their hands. So before you bitch at me for bludgeoning the first game in the series, let's go on. EA followed up their basketball genesis with Bulls vs. Lakers, a game that I actually grew up with as a kid. At first glance, one could easily see that there was massive tweaking done to improve upon the series. There are much-needed player, free throw and 24-second shot clock indicators, the sound effects and music are greatly improved, there are far more rim animations, it follows NBA rules more closely, and they have far more teams than the GOT 8 they had in the first installation. A nice effort, but one little problem. They forgot to work on the drab, boring gameplay. Listen, EA, it doesn't matter how much you try and polish a turd, in the end it's still going to be shit. I know they made an effort to improve their product, but effort great does not a good game make. And it shows. It's like taking a drunk pit bull and deciding to pucker it up with makeup and lipstick. The results will only be just as ugly. So EA, realizing that their product might be getting a little stale, decided to switch their attention from the NBA playoffs to basketball at the 1992 Olympic Games. You know, the one where the famed Dream Team curb-stomped every other nation into submission? In spite of this, they decided to ignore their feats and promote global unity and Team USA basketball. Oh, great. A politically correct Earth Day logo. Just what I want to see in my basketball games. If that picture wasn't misleading, it gets better. Before every game, you get to take what's close to third-grade world cultures class. I'm dead serious. It's basic stuff to give you more knowledge of the countries that are playing, but there's that little problem of that I'm trying to play a basketball game, not sit through an episode of Captain Planet. Accompanied by these really annoying renditions of the national anthems, it just doesn't work. Considering this, you'd figure they'd do something special to fix the gameplay as well. But guess what? EA shoveled out the same goddamn game! Oh god. A triple crown of the same shit! If I wanted repetition, I'd get Chinese water torture or watch Yakov Smirnoff, whatever comes first. As much as I like to think that people will play as other countries, I'll be blunt. This is the only reason you're going to be playing this game. Not to be an elitist snob, but the influx of foreign players into the NBA really didn't begin for another 5 years. This was before Nowitzki, before Ginobili, before Yao Ming, before Gasol, before Steve Nash and Tony Parker, before Ilgauskas and Mutombo wasn't even in the game. It would make sense for someone to play as the all-world team if you were a fan of Vlade Divac or Tony Kukoc, but most of these guys just aren't recognizable. Therefore, this game is just a blatant cash-in on the marketer's wet dream team. It's one massive fan service for those who follow NBA All-Star games. Do you think anybody would have bought this kind of game in, say, 1988, where NBA players weren't allowed to play in the Olympics? And I just love the fact that they tried to promote basketball as a global phenomenon when they called the game Team USA Basketball. So with that eco-disaster, EA went back to playoff basketball with Bulls versus Blazers and what the bloody hell? Oh dear God, EA's going backwards. There was virtually nothing done to separate this game from Bulls vs. Lakers. EA, just because both titles have Bulls in them doesn't mean you can emulate 3D realms, especially when the game you're talking about is stale excrement. The only merit to this game is the ability to play with custom teams, which means I can finally see a dream matchup of Mark Prices versus John Stocktons to finally prove who is the ultimate white boy point guard of the 90s. I can't get my head over this. Almost half a decade of the same shitty basketball game during the Genesis's prime. It's like I'm looking at GM just trotting out the same tired car designs every year expecting people to buy out of brand recognition. The series is just a poster child of redundancy. EA just published the poster child of redundancy. But as I stated, the series had potential to be great on the Genesis. But did they ever manage to fully achieve it? Yes. It took them a few more years, but they finally got it right with the NBA Live series, a basketball game that actually captures the intensity and excitement of the sport. But for these games, they just emphasize the theory that sports games never change. And how can you blame them for thinking that?